My name is Max Stein, and I love video games.
I'm the Megabuck. I really love video games.
My name is Raph, and I also love video games.
And welcome to the Game Treasure Podcast, where we discuss treasure video games of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Today, happy birthday to you.
Halo.
Oh,
Happy
Halo.
birthday, Halo.
And Benny.
It's Halo's birthday. It's 23 years old now. Do you feel old now, Halo? That's right.
I feel like we can't sing the happy birthday song, guys.
You can. That happened a couple years ago.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
Oh,
good.
no, really?
Yeah.
You can or
Alright,
you
so
can't?
let's
I think you can now.
Okay, I
or
think
we
you
owe
can as
someone
well,
10
yeah.
cents. One of the two.
fuck that. Fuck copyright.
Halo came out
Works.
on this day in 2001. The original, the OG, maybe not the best Halo, gentlemen.
come on.
Am
No,
I agree?
no, not
Halo
necessarily,
2,
but
I
still
think
good.
it may
Still
be the
important.
best Halo,
That's a good point. Yes.
Yeah.
in my opinion, but we're going to get into it later. Halo was leagues beyond, in my child opinion, at the time of 2001 when I was 11, compared to other like console shooters.
Yeah.
Like get right out of town. But before we do that, let's kick it right off by going back in time. Buck, will you and RetroGameTreasure.com send us to the Retro Zone, please?
Let's go back in time. I was going to sing the I Am Ninja theme song, but then I couldn't remember the whole thing. Do you remember that old YouTube video? I am ninja, we are ninja, you are ninja.
God damn it.
Something like that.
The Ask a Ninja famous YouTube viral video from 2004 or something. It's amazing.
Great on the internet. That's right. Because we're going to be ninjas today, because we're going to play. This was a user request. I had a user request to do this as a retro zone. I think it's a great idea.
Oh, okay,
and
cool.
that is Ninja Gaiden 2 Dark Sword of Chaos for the
alright.
NES.
Yes, really. This game is affordable. This game can be in the boxes.
Oh, absolutely. I think
This is a
Ninja Gaiden,
good-ass game.
Ninja Gaiden 2 is right around like $20, give or take, I think. Maybe a little less than that actually now.
That's
Yeah.
good.
I haven't played it in a while. I mean, I love this game. It is hard, but it is also a lot of fun. It's less hard than the first Ninja Gaiden game was, that's for sure. The cinematics of this. Okay, so the 1990 is the year that this came out. Not too much longer after the first Ninja Gaiden game. They made 3 of them for the NES. Then they put out a trilogy, which is weird for the SNES, which is weird because it's really expensive and it's not. It's worse. I don't know. It's prettier, but the music's garbage. This game is a cinematic masterpiece for a console that was not known for having good cutscenes. It was known for having game over screens that just said "Congratulations, the end."
You're dead.
And
True.
this game has like a 7-minute cinematic for its ending.
Yeah, no, this game has UFO 50 level pixel cutscenes with like dark backgrounds with the pixelated characters, like sort of like one of them moving in the background and one of them moving in the foreground to create a very cinematic
Lots of tricks,
effect.
right? Yeah,
For
lots of
a
wild
system
tricks.
like that, Buck said, normally just has Mario like.
Yeah.
This game
Like,
had some like
just
scrolling
jumping.
parallax backgrounds and stuff like that, right? Like, some
well,
really,
in
like,
the actual
gorgeous
game
pixel
itself,
work.
yeah, that was one of the biggest things from the first to the second. Is the scrolling backgrounds was huge for the graphical interface on that. But the story on this, I mean, altogether, if
True.
you chop the story up on this in cinematics, it's like 20 minutes of cinematics. It's
Whoa.
amazing. That's a great story. The way the different characters play out, and with Irene and Ryu and what's his name, Robert, the whatever agent of the gun.
Ryu Hayabusa, an unsung hero of video game. Back when the Xbox was king and Dead or Alive was rocking, right? You've got Hayabusa and all of the making cameos in the Dead or Alive games or whatever because of all his fighting game
Because it was Tecmo.
prowess. Yeah, exactly.
Because it was Tecmo. Yeah.
And then those Xbox Ninja Gaiden reboots came out, and Ryu Hayabusa is a star again. I want to see a new Ninja Gaiden.
I would love that.
I would love to see them do Ninja Gaiden and do the messenger treatment to it.
That's a good point. That's something that I thought of when you were speaking that you just reminded me of, is that there are so many Ninja Gaiden likes, dare I say.
Well,
Is that fair?
there's those newer Ninja Gaidens they made, like Black and Sigma and all those that are
True.
hard as ball. It was like the Devil May Cry action difficult kind of games, right? And
Yeah.
you had to be a little bit of a masochist.
It's funny
They,
because you mentioned UFO 50 earlier. There's even a Ninja Gaiden like in UFO 50.
there's the side-scrolling ninja game that almost
Ninpak,
has the
yeah.
same feeling
Ninpak,
jump,
yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, that's
Ninja
a little
Gaiden,
more. Yeah,
I would
there's a
say
different track.
side-scrolling game needs power-ups
Okay.
and the floatiness and the wall jumping.
The
Right?
wall
Those
jumping
two
and the wall
things
grab.
make Ninja Gaiden better than your average, because there's a lot of Nintendo games.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of platforming Nintendo games. So Ninja Gaiden's one of them. What makes it a little bit better? Those things I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Ninja Gaiden
Controls.
2 takes all those things, makes it a little bit better.
Yeah, controls
yeah.
are better in 2.
That's
for
a good-ass game.
This one also had where you could climb in addition to the wall jumps, which was huge for both level design and being able to navigate those levels. But this game gets a rap for being really difficult. When it's not as difficult as the first Ninja Gaiden, and 2, it's got like shmup syndrome. And what I mean is, it's only difficult right after you've died. When you have all your power-ups maxed up, you have 2 shadows, you have like that flame diagonal thing, you can roast but you can roast Ashtar, and you can roast, spoilers, Jackie O's the bad guy again. With those, you can tank almost all the bosses, but without those, shit.
That's a good comparison. The shmup syndrome. The
Right.
idea that, right before you die in a shmup, you are at your most powerful, most likely. And so that's when it becomes the biggest boner to die.
Yeah, and right after you die, you lose everything, and you're like, you go back to going, pew, pew.
An interesting mechanic to add to a side-scrolling platformer. Ninja Gaiden, what kind of preferences do you need to have for Ninja Gaiden 2? This is just a straight-up platformer for the NES,
Yeah.
right? No
Yep,
extra
so no-
frills. It's not... Rating system doesn't exist yet.
Nope.
So
there's nothing really bad
no
about it.
rating system. I feel like this game would be
Guns.
rated M for mature, right? You
Probably
think
'cause
so? Like
the guns and
disembowel
the
people
gore
and
and stuff,
shit.
yeah.
You get shot.
Just the cutscenes when an NES game, the first time you meet Robert, he's like the whatever special agent that helps Ryu a lot in this one. And the first time you meet him, you just beat the first boss, and the dude slinks out of the shadows and starts having a dialogue with Ryu, and Ryu's like, "Who are you?" He thinks it's another enemy. He's gonna have to fight them, right? And the dude pulls a gun, and Ryu's like ready to grab the sword out, and he shoots. And it's this viewpoint where you can only see like Ryu's face, right? It's a close up on his face, so you don't necessarily see what happens. You see the gun shoot, and you're like, "Oh my god, he shot Ryu. This guy is a bad guy." And Ryu's face pans a bit to the side, and behind him, the boss was still alive, and he's reaching out towards Ryu, and the guy had shot the boss, and
Cool.
the thing
Nice.
collapses, and you're like, the fact that you could tell this with, even in this case, they're even mostly still sprites other than their eyes, right?
I think I know why Buck chose this as the retro zone today. I think it has something to do with the cinematic quality of it all. It certainly must be.
No, this is a
certainly
user
ties in,
request.
but-
No. It certainly has everything to do for the fact that when we come
It
back,
definitely fit.
we're going to talk about one of the most cinematic first-person shooters of all time. Go to www.retrogametreasure.com to begin collecting your games the easy way today. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's Halo time. Gentlemen, it's time to talk about Halo.
I can't. I was gonna try to join you on that one, and there's no way my throat's gonna let that happen right now.
Dominus.
It's
Cheesy
time
doofs.
to... Hey, Halo had a birthday. Halo 2 had a birthday just a couple days ago as of this recording.
Oh,
the game that I said is
baby.
the better of the two Halos. But regardless, when I saw the day of this recording was going to be on Halo's birthday, I said, that's great. We could fill an entire episode on this game because as memory serves, this
'Cause
game's
it's
great.
Halo.
And then I went back and played it and did some research and was just like, not only was my memory correct, I didn't even think about some of the things about why this game was so good, frankly.
Yeah, this week. jogged my
So
memory.
gentlemen, give me your overall gush about Halo. Buck, I know you've got a little bit of something prepared. Raph, do you have overall arching thoughts about Halo you'd like to set the table with
Yeah,
beforehand?
absolutely. Coming from someone who actually never once owned an Xbox in my entire life, I never actually played this at home on my own. But one thing I do remember was that I had at least two friends, or actually, I had friends of mine that were both brothers, and they each had an Xbox.
Mm.
And what we did is that we used to actually hook up the Xboxes from the garage with a Ethernet cable, hook the other one up in their room, and we used to do these big LAN parties where we'd have 4-person teams fighting each other. I don't know if that was Halo 1 or Halo 2, but either way, man, I used to play a lot of Halo with those guys in particular, especially playing in the campaign. Dude, this game was such a blast, man, and it blew me away growing up too. It was something that was kind of new for me. I mean, think before that, like the only first-person shooter I played was GoldenEye. And this is such a step up in quality from
That was a
GoldenEye to
lot of
Halo.
people's experience, I believe.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Buck,
Mind blowing, honestly.
you've got a little bit of something for us on Halo, do you not? You've got your little bit. He was telling us before it.
Oh, yeah, I
I mean,
wanna hear this,
Raph is
yeah.
completely right because that's how it was. You have to remember that the first Halo, while networkable to themselves and intranets, Xbox Live did not exist yet.
Right.
Xbox Live didn't come out until a year after the first Halo game came out.
Right.
And so everything had to be LAN. So I actually had a business in college called the OVGA, the Orlando Video Gamers Association,
Oh,
my
yeah.
first business that I started. And it was basically all those big events you see, like MLG and DreamHack and all of those. I had that idea way back in like 2000, 2001. I would rent
It's
out a
true.
ballroom in a local Holiday Inn, and people would come to play in different tournaments, and we would link up 4 Xboxes with TVs and have 16-player death matches for
Oh my god.
Halo.
It's true.
Which was
Amazing.
nuts. And we all did that. But the one of the owners of one of our local game stores, I've known him, has been a friend for literally 25 years. And one of my wife's childhood friends growing up, when we were in college, same thing. He invested some of his money that he'd gotten from inheritance in a helping them open their first retail chain. And so we used to go there a lot. We used to hang out there a lot with him, everything else. And when Halo 1, especially like Halo 2, I believe it was too, came out, a bunch of us would bring Xboxes. They would have TVs set up in their store, but we would, lock the doors. It was after hours with him in there playing with us, and that we would bring beer and we would play like
we were reminiscing before the podcast started, and I have a distinct memory of being like 15 years old and playing at this local game store Halo 2 and drinking beer. I remember having a specific traumatizing memory of spilling a beer on the carpet and everyone getting really mad at me because I was an idiot. But man, the hype for Halo 2 stems from how good Halo 1 is, or should I say was. Obviously now games are fantastic, but at the time, so Raph made the comment of, at this time I'm playing fucking GoldenEye. I wanted to review some of the games that were out at this time, like games leading up to Halo. Okay, you've got Doom, Wolfenstein 3D, Duke Nukem, Quake, GoldenEye. Half-Life comes out the year before Halo. Half-Life is fantastic, okay?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Half-Life 2 is obviously a masterpiece. But I would say that while Half-Life is the steepest competition in terms of quality of first-person shooter to Halo, Gordon Freeman is not fucking Master Chief. Like, playing as the silent protagonist scientist is not the same as the epic scope of playing as the universe's top tier soldier in an epic battle to save like an entire race of aliens.
And I really hope one day they make a TV show based on Halo and we get to see Master Chief have sex.
Oh my god.
Not to mention the fact that I didn't know he had sex in that. That's crazy. Yeah. Not to mention that in order to play Half-Life, you needed a PC.
Mm-hmm.
I was about to ask you, because how many of those games you mentioned were kind of like exclusively on PC?
It was like 50-50.
It was like 50-50, but half of those 50 that I said were boomer shooters, okay?
There was
this was the first.
Yeah.
This was the first Half-Life quality shooter. Was on a console. You could buy this console if you weren't a computer whiz. You could just play Halo at the time. I'm not going to go into the history of Halo. A lot of people have done this podcast. That's the history. Where did you know it started as an RTS and then it was a third-person shooter, and it was originally called
Direct Xbox.
Yes, and it was going to come out for the Macintosh computers, and then it got bought up by Microsoft.
Marathon.
Yeah, and there was a whole hullabaloo.
Which is Bungie's first.
I also want to say, just of my own personal history, this is probably the first shooter that I played that I actually had to learn how to use like dual joysticks.
I was going to bring that.
I was going to bring it up.
Yeah,
it's one of the first. It is. I believe if my research is correct, it is the first shooter that asks you to use 2 analog sticks to control yourself.
So the PlayStation had figured that out with the dual analog for some games,
right? Yeah,
but Nintendo wasn't into the shooters and did not design their controllers to work with it. That's for sure.
Right.
And Sony didn't have anything first party that did that. So I think when Xbox was coming to the table, this was important to them. All those boomer shooters you mentioned are made for keyboard and mouse.
Right.
And if they came out on a console, they only kind of work on the console because there's no verticality with your aiming.
No Y-axis
it's either
movement,
it's either
no
auto
Y-axis.
aiming or it doesn't exist at all. Even in Doom and earlier Quakes and all those kinds of things. And if it did, it was really, really clunky. So this was them figuring it out.
Right. I mean, that alone is something that's just like, every first-person shooter after that, they all were like, we should do that because that's a good fucking idea, and they were not wrong. And that's
this
just
was
on
the Resident Evil 4 first-person shooters.
Yes, that's a good analog. It would say everyone said, "Oh snap, they figured it out."
Right.
They figured out how to do console shooters, you guys. We can allow 11-year-old Max Stein to play a first-person shooter without having to do it on the computer with the keyboard and mouse because it's so hard.
That was what the Xbox wanted. That was what Microsoft wanted. Yes. That was why it ran on DirectX and why it ran on PC, hardware, basically.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it ran on DirectX. That's wild.
It's literally called the Xbox because it was originally called the Direct Xbox.
Oh, shit. I learned something new today. That's awesome. Gnarly.
So on top of having, this incredible revolution in the way you control the game, the AI of Halo, I didn't go into the technicalities to figure out like what it's telling it to do, but I did, do some research and play it again with Raph to get a general consensus of the AI in Halo to this day feels smarter than the AI of a lot of like Call of Duty and Battlefield games. Right. There are a lot of those first-person shooter games now where the campaign mode is mailed in, and when you come across an NPC, he just sort of stands there and waits for you to shoot him. GoldenEye was at least of the similar time, but like, man, it's embarrassing to admit that like the new Call of Duties have like levels where you're shooting a bunch of guys and they just sort of like pop up and then go down and then pop up and then go down. But like the enemies in Halo are so dynamic. Like
they're trying to flank you, they're yelling things out at each other and like kind of funny things too. Like
they respond to you differently. Like the grunts will run away from you depending on what weapon you equip. If you hit a grunt with a grenade, he will frantically run around and like retreat to other grunts. Like if you hit him with a plasma grenade. But if you hit an elite with a grenade, his behavior becomes to run directly at you to an attempt to like suicide bomb you, essentially.
You know what I think was interesting about the you mentioned on the enemies is it was the variety. I was actually watching a streamer the other day talking about different Resident Evil games and how Resident Evil 7 was a great game, but the biggest letdown was the molded. There was only one type of enemy in the whole game. If they had different varieties and yada, yada, yada. So not only did they have the variety of enemies, but I didn't really care about story in much shooters until like that year because I played Half-Life and the story was really great. And then you played this, and right when it was getting to the point where you were getting a little bit almost not sick of, but a little bit like, okay, we get it, we're fighting the Covenant, whatever. The Flood show up.
Yeah, the library.
Yeah. And then you're like, whoa, wait. There's a bigger
more
threat
types of
that's
enemies,
and then more enemies, and then 3-way battles between those different ones, and that makes a huge difference.
And the Flood were kind of scary too.
Yeah, I mean, Doom, or I'm sorry, Halo is kind of scary at points.
Right. Yeah.
I was
yeah,
gonna
it's
say
very
before
dark,
we get
yeah.
into that
Yeah.
games like Doom have a variety of enemies, but their behavior does not feel as like minutely adjusted as the behavior. Like groups of guys in Halo, like the guys that spawn depend on the difficulty that you choose, and it feels, I wrote in my notes, it feels like the enemies in Halo work together against you.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can
Yeah.
put it. It's just like they know their role, the way they designed the AI. It's just like the most not mailed in campaign mode of
Yeah.
any first person
They
shooter
couldn't-
at that time.
The Xbox wasn't going to work if they mailed it in, and Bungie was the
Right.
right choice, obviously, at the time to do that. They saw what they had done, like I said, with Marathon. That was their first game where they were trying to go with it.
I mean, I did some like I said, I did some research and found that there was some turbulence with the production of Halo. They cut it down to the wire, let's say, on certain things. So it's lucky that they pulled it off at all, but it definitely feels like a labor of love from a bunch of dudes that were trying to make the best gameplay experience possible. The multiplayer, it's fine. You play it now and it's fine. But I'm more specifically trying to focus here on this gameplay mode, which leads me to what I believe is the best part of Halo, which is the cinematic quality of it all.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
the level of cinematic storytelling happening both in and out of gameplay is so much greater than that of, like I said, those GoldenEye and Quake and fucking Wolfenstein 3D. Half-Life comes close again, but like, you know, Half-Life will have a room where you just come across like a pile of blood on the floor, and then you're like, ooh, what happened here? You know what I mean?
Werewolf Bar Mitzvah.
But Halo has that, and then also has huge sweeping landscapes on a like an artificial planet, and then rushing
the first time
corridor
you look up at the Halo.
Yes.
Right. The
That's
first
what
time
I
you look up at the Halo.
Yes.
When we
When
were
you
playing
come
the
out
other
of the
day-
pods, the
Oh my
rescue
gosh.
pods, and you look up and you say, "Oh my goodness, what a big
I had a
game
moment
this is!"
when we were crossing that like land bridge, when we were playing that first mission, that I had to stop and I looked either side and I realized, oh my god, we're on this land bridge. There's water underneath us, and I looked up and I just saw the ring above me, and I was like, what? This game was made in what 2000? What 2001?
2001.
Right?
Yep.
Holy shit! What a fucking
And the
amazing
level
game.
design varies
Right.
so greatly from mission to mission. I wrote in my notes here, in Doom, the designs of different levels don't create a series of different tones. Instead, it just feels like a bunch of different flavors of Doom. Whereas in Halo, when you step into a Covenant stronghold versus emerging from your escape pod to see the Halo for the first time versus running through a crashing ship, the music, the lighting, and the scenery all work in tandem to create a series of varied atmospheres. As opposed to just like GoldenEye, where you're 007 and you're in like enemy territory. When it's like a bunch of buildings. Ooh, like even Quake's sci-fi aesthetic is just sort of like, it's in the future. But like, I forgot that in Halo, you have a flashlight.
Yeah.
Because there are certain parts of Halo where you go into the dark and it kind of gets scary. Like Raph was saying,
Dude,
it
that
gets
very
a little
first
bit
mission.
shady, a little bit jumpy.
That very first part, and you're walking through the ship. There was that one part in particular that stands out for me, is like we were walking through this hall and we turned the corner. Mac was in front of me because we were playing the campaign together, and as he comes around the corner, some dude just jumps out the corner with a knife and just shanks him, basically, like with a sword, just stabs him. Yeah. Start shooting, light him up and stuff. It was great, and it was dark and stuff, so it was very spooky, very cool.
That's a good segue to talking about my experience, at least, of rehashing Halo, going back, and I played the Master Chief Collection.
I wanted to ask you
with
about
Raph.
this, yeah.
So, okay, first of all, I want to talk about things I forgot about Halo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number one, I forgot that the game begins in media res with the captain of the ship and Cortana talking about Reach. Even in the original Halo, Halo Reach obviously being the precursor to Halo, like
it's a prequel.
the storyline if you know me personally, you know I love RoboCop. So you know that I love nothing better than a story that sort of just drops you into it. And so the fact that the game begins with a cinematic in which a bunch of people are talking about their situation in an urgent matter, and they do not care that you, the audience, are not aware of what's, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, we barely escaped Reach. Are they following us? And and then obviously you cut to the Master Chief being booted up like RoboCop.
Yeah.
Fantastic way to begin the game. And I was like, I totally forgot that it just begins this way so abruptly. You just get thrown into the awesome chaos that is happening already. Fantastic way to start a game. 2, the maps are so big.
Yes.
I forgot how big and slow the initial experience of Halo is. I wrote that the big maps lead to a much more varied pace than I remember, because sometimes you are pressing as hard as hell through absolute craziness, but sometimes
You're
just chilling in the
meandering.
Warthog.
Yeah.
You're just,
we were wandering around, not knowing where to go necessarily.
That's
you
half
know?
the fun.
Yeah,
it's half
exactly,
the
yeah.
fun. And you know what I wrote in my notes that was so funny is I didn't remember this, but I played the Halo Infinite campaign, which is an open world game, and I went, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. At the very beginning of Halo feels so big, it almost feels open world. Me and Raph are literally wandering around in this open field going, where are the guys we need to kill? I don't remember Halo being this big. Is this right?
That's awesome.
But yeah, it makes for, like I said, a nice varied experience, kind of like a nice big varied movie where sometimes you got lulls and sometimes you got craziness. It's not all Doom 2016, not to rag on Doom 2016. It's one of the most fantastic first-person shooters of all time. But what I'm getting at is Halo offers you this fantastic varied experience in tone. That's like a movie. Sometimes you're watching the character's backstory, and sometimes you're watching a fight scene. It's really, really fantastic.
You know, the Halo Reach thing, just to kind of go back to it, like that,
Yes.
it makes me, in a weird way, it makes me think of Star Wars, the original Star Wars. It's a case of excellent world building. There's one line in the original Star Wars that set off so many people's imagination back in the 70s, and it's when Obi-Wan Kenobi says, "Yes, I fought with your father in the Clone Wars." What the fuck is the Clone Wars?
Boom, baby.
What the fuck is the Clone Wars?
Yep.
What the fuck? And they never touch on that.
Well,
for
I'll
like
tell you about it in
years.
another 30 years.
Right, exactly. And that's what they do right in the beginning. They're like, yeah, Halo Reach, or the Reach. And you're like, wait, what is that? You know, like
Yeah.
they don't even talk about it.
That's a fantastic analog.
Yeah.
That's a great comparison.
Thank you.
Now, I want to get into the Master Chief Collection. I slept on this when this first came out. We're late, but that's the beauty of our show. We get to talk about video games whenever, no matter when they came out just recently or 10 years ago, whatever it was. So the Master Chief Collection is Halo's 1 through Reach. So it's 1 through 4 plus Reach. And they've reskinned them all. You can swap between the new skin and the original skin at your leisure, literally on the fly. It happens almost instantly. Buck, have you played these at all, or do you just know about this?
I just know it exists. Yeah, I didn't play. I played all the originals when they came out. But
so you can reskin all the games on the fly to their original thing, and they have these new color palettes, these new up-res graphics.
Yeah.
And
I feel like something is lost in translation, is I think oh boy. Oh.
shooter? Okay.
Hello, my name is Maxan, and video games are art. Today I come to you very sad because I'm come to report that the Master Chief Collection, she has taken the art out of Halo. Oh, it breaks my heart. Oh, I love video games and they are so precious to me. But Master Chief Collection, shame on you. Shame on you for doing what you're doing. Anyone that's played it is not going to know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't played it, just listen to what I'm about to say. Everything, when you jump into the original graphics of Halo, the planet is super green.
Yeah.
Very dark green because it's artificial.
Mm-hmm.
The Halo is a fake planet. Halo is a sci-fi game. Okay? So having that color palette is pretty important. When you switch the color palette in the up-resing to just being brown, because that's the color the Earth is.
That's interesting.
This isn't the Earth. This is Halo. It's supposed to be AstroTurf. Like, it's supposed to look artificial. There's a term that I didn't look up, but for when you're doing a modeling, sculpting, whatever, when you're making a picture of something that's sci-fi, there's a word for when you add like little bits and bobs to your sculpture, to your art, that like look like little things that could be of use. Like you draw a bunch of pipes and a bunch of vents, and it's meant to have the person who's experiencing the art say like, oh, this is all, like Raph said, world building. That pipe leads to something of the mechanism and this like that. In the Master Chief Collection, they add so many fucking bits and bobs to every square inch of every fucking level that it does not add to the scenery. It distracts from it.
Huh.
Yeah.
The original Halo has some fantastic, tense ambiance that is created because you are focused, because the world is only made of 4 pixels anyhow, because it's the Xbox. So there's not a lot to distract you from what's going on. There's not a lot to distract you from the fantastic AI and the really good storytelling. In the Master Chief Collection, every wall has so many screws and bolts and lights and fucking things coming out of it that I cannot even pay attention to anything else besides the fucking door. It's
Every
so
blade
annoying.
Of grass is animated. Every like grain of sand is visible. It looks real nice, but it also loses a lot in translation. Like I said earlier,
soldier looks like they are the main character of Gears of War, like all the regular soldier guys who in the old Halo, again, I understand the graphics are simple, and so maybe if you're saying, well, you know, you're supposed to use your imagination, okay, but when you look at it, it looks like the soldiers are just sort of wearing a very simple plate armor.
Yeah,
it really frankly looks like they're wearing a piece of metal that's government issued.
They're all vet guards.
They're all vet guards. They've got very simple stuff on. But then you get to the Master Chief Collection and everybody looks like Gears of War. They look like Space Marines. Like everyone looks like a one-man killing machine army, which doesn't make the vibes. It's not correct. That's not correct to the vibes of Halo.
Right.
You're the one-man killing machine. Not that.
Exactly.
I don't need Sergeant Steve.
Exactly. They abandon almost all of the darkness of Halo. The flashlight becomes completely moot with the shaders that they put on, the remaster, which eliminates the vibe of being a one-man killing guy like machine that's versus an entire army of aliens, and they're all coming to get you in the dark. You know, those moments are spoiled. And now I would like to get into the cinematography that changes with the Master Chief Collection. Okay, so this is how this started. I saw the intro to this game where they're talking about Reach, and I thought to myself, is that how the original Halo started? Does it start with them having a conversation about Reach, or am I bugging? So I do some digging. Turns out, yes, that is how the original Halo started. So, cut to, I'm watching these scenes right next to each other, back to back, the new one, the old one. And I discovered some things that made me say, God damn it, what are you doing? You are eliminating the artistry from what these guys have done. And I'm going to get into my examples here. So this first one, this video I've titled, Master Chief Collection is Afraid of Close-Ups. Okay? So I'm going to play these for you.
All right.
So what we have here, I'm going to describe for anybody who's just watching or who's just listening. We have the original and the remaster being played side by side. Right away, the original starts with a wider angle from the establishing shot. Top-down view of some soldiers walking. Slightly more angled in the original and slightly wider. So you're getting more of the room. You're getting what's called an establishing shot in cinema. I want to know where we are. So the first one is too tight. I don't see the thing. It's a bad shot. Let's continue.
All you greenhorns who wanted to...
These two shots have craned down into a oneer of a general who's speaking to us. In the original, the camera comes in for a tight close-up.
Yeah, he's looking right down the barrel there.
Right down the barrel.
Yeah.
The close-up was invented by cinema in the 1940s to allow you, the viewer, to get into the headspace of the person who is speaking on screen.
Right.
In a play, you cannot do a close-up. In
Right.
a movie, you can. And it's for the dramatic effect of absorbing the headspace of the speaker. In these two shots, one of them, ironically, the one that was farther away, has pulled in to the tighter of the two close-ups. Arguably, in my opinion, creating a more cinematic experience.
It's certainly more dramatic as well. Like,
Exactly.
Has severe Area 51 arcade vibes.
The one that's pulled back too far is saying, I don't have the balls to be a movie. I'm pulled back to a degree that is safe and not bold.
And it has him not even looking really at the camera either.
All right, let's get to this next one.
We never really had a chance.
A dozen Covenant superior battleships against a single Halcyon-class cruiser. With those odds, I'm content with 3.
Oh, wait.
So here
Whoa.
we have the general talking to Cortana in the hangar of their ship or whatever. Immediately, you tell the difference. It begins with both of them. So it's a single of the captain. Then it's cut to a single, and she's facing the opposite way, but with her back turned, of Cortana. The original cuts to a close-up of her because she's talking. The new one, the reskin,
Just has booty.
just remains
I was gonna
with
say
a
that.
back shot of her with her back turned because they're trying to build a dramatic effect, I think, for her turnaround because it's like Halo.
Nah, it's
But the-
booty.
But the
It's
first
because adult
one,
millennials like butts.
the original one, is clearly trying to say, hey, this is a movie. When someone's talking about something dramatic, like an alien ship like about to fuck you up,
Right.
you should close up on that action.
Make that 4 kills.
Wow, it took a
Well-
while. They had a dramatic turn,
No
but that's
thanks,
it,
dude.
you know?
They have a dramatic turn and then a cut to Master Chief. Notice which of the two edits has a closer up shot of Master Chief. The original has not only a closer up shot of Master Chief, it's from a lower angle, which makes Master Chief feel
You're
more
driving,
powerful.
yes.
Right.
So you did miss.
Now, that leads me perfectly into my second clip here, which is just called Cinematography Changes. This is one scene that I want to highlight. And this is the first scene that Master Chief meets the general of the ship in the beginning of the game. It's
I
going
like
to
the
play one, and then it's
cinematography
going to play the other.
lessons.
This is the original.
Captain Keys.
Good to see you, Master Chief. Things aren't going well.
Captain Keys.
Good
Why?
to see you, Master Chief.
Okay.
Things aren't going.
So, our original copy of the cinematography begins with a low angle shot of Master Chief. Because Master Chief is a badass and we want to make him feel big and strong. So we shoot him from below. Cut to the remake. What is this? What is this boring ass shot? Do you see how this is? First of all,
It's
in
like
the
someone
original,
just discovered the rule of thirds.
they
That's like
in the original, you'll also notice that Master Chief is in the right-hand side
Yeah, I
of the
noticed
screen,
that. It's weird.
aka the power position in cinema.
Oh.
And if we cut to the new one, oh look, he's on the left.
AKA the pussy position.
AKA I'm the secondary person. I'm not as strong. Not only am I not being shot from underneath, I'm being shot on the left-hand side of the screen. Then cut to the second shot. In the original, they put you over Master Chief's shoulder, looking down on this guy who's an army general. So that A, you feel like Master Chief, and B, you feel like Master Chief is more badass than this guy.
Which you hope he is.
Cut to the remake, and first of all, Master Chief is in the bad position, the left-hand side of the screen, and once again, not over Master Chief's shoulder. We're just sort of on this sideways angle, just barely having Master Chief cheated in just a little bit. Don't feel like Master Chief, and don't feel like Master Chief is an intimidating person.
Plus, look at that handshake. That
Yeah,
limp-wristed
that's really
handshake.
awkward. I feel like I'm getting like the Kennedy assassination explained to me. That's crazy. Like,
I love it.
holy
Master
shit. I know.
Chief
I love this. It's
Collection,
great. Yeah.
This is just the first scene of the game. Why did you take these liberties? Why did you?
Mac, real quick, can I ask? Because I don't remember when we were playing the beginning of this game. Even when you have the like original resolution or original fidelity on it, it's still these remastered scenes, right? Like these camera angles are still the same.
That I don't know. I didn't go back to read to see if it does the camera angles in the correct. In the correct.
Yeah, correct.
In
No,
the fucking
100%,
correct
yeah.
cinematography style, where in which you get a Citizen Kane effect on Master Chief, where in which he feels like a big badass. Instead, you get this wimpy, poorly directed version of a game that, in my opinion, leans heavily on its direction.
Yeah.
It's a strange series of choices to make, and this is just the first scene of the game.
I wonder if one of the biggest proponents of these changes is because of aspect ratios. Because it was a 4:3 forced TV. Yeah. Everyone had a tube TV. Everyone had a 4:3 TV. Flat screens didn't exist. Widescreens didn't exist. And you knew you had a fixed camera size. Whereas fast forward 20 years, you've got widescreens. You've got still 4:3s, depending on what year this came out. You've got ultra wides. You've got different aspect ratios. You've got different resolutions on PCs. I wonder if they ran into it, like they would have had to letterbox it all. And maybe
I thought
that
about
changed.
that, but when Halo goes into its cutscenes, it letterboxes itself.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh man.
Because it is cinematic in quality above all else. The things that I just pointed out to you were things that I just noticed watching those scenes back to back, just as a person who's gone to film school and just been like, man, the way they frame this up in the original is so much better. Like, it makes the beginning of the game basically be like, hey, you kick ass immediately. Like, you're already really cool. Whereas
Raph's right, though. It's probably a person that wasn't a cinematography person doing it. It was just a video game person doing directing those scenes, right?
Which is funny because, I mean, Bungie, you nailed it. You guys were just a bunch of video game guys, but to me, the difference is you were guys that must have just watched more movies. And you said, you know what this shot needs? To be tighter.
It's funny. I know. I don't know how much you like I know this sounds kind of like a weird parallel, but I just watched a 5-hour documentary called The Doc of Chucky. It's a 5-hour Chucky documentary about all the Chucky movies. Turns out some of the later ones are actually really good, Cult and Curse. But my point was, I didn't know how you felt about them if you watched them a lot, Mac, but the director and the guy who originally wrote the character and now directs and writes all the new movies, Don Mancini, is like a huge film buff.
Yes, I have listened to some podcasts about Chucky, so, like, and he sounds admirable.
When you watch like Curse of Chucky, he talks about the mansion they had and that there was an elevator in the middle for the girl who was in a wheelchair. And he brought on a guy later that was going to do the music for it. And he's like, hey, I really like that there too. It kind of reminds me of this movie, The Girl in the Cage, an old 60s movie. And he's like, that's exactly what I was going for with that elevator there. And so my point was there is like, he is into that style. He likes that kind of stuff. And maybe they had people like that at Bungie back in the day too, that were kind of film buffs. And when we're going to make a shooter and going to make it cinematic honestly, at the same time.
Yeah, they probably understood we're trying to make a big cinematic shooter, so I wouldn't be surprised if they went out of their way in the development process to study the way that movies are filmed.
Microsoft wanted it to be big. They knew that the Xbox had to make a big bang if they were going to be able to get into the video game market and stay in the video game market.
It was all intentionally done, I'm sure.
Sounds like.
Yeah. It feels like a series of bold, big swings, which make for fantastic art. There's very few pieces of art that are very timid and normal, right? True. UFO 50. 51st game, what the fuck? So, gentlemen, do you have closing thoughts on Halo? I just jabbered on and on, philosophically about
the fun part, though.
The art of Halo.
Mhm.
You have anything else you would like to add to our conversation? Because we're pretty much about ready to head
Yeah.
into our what else you got.
I think from the gameplay style, I think one of the biggest things we didn't even touch on that made this game feel different to me as a shooter, and I played a lot of shooters back then. I don't really now because it's so played out. Was the shield mechanic and the recharging shields.
Oh yeah.
Thank you actually for bringing that
Absolutely,
up.
When you
yes.
play a boomer shooter, you collect health and you even collect shields, but they don't replenish themselves if you can duck away from a firefight. And I feel like that changed first-person genre, especially in the sci-fi realm, forever.
And that's something that not like Call of Duty doesn't have that. Battlefield doesn't have
Sure.
that. But I'll say Halo Infinite, the newest Halo multiplayer, does, and I still appreciate it.
Yeah, and lots
I
of
still
newer
to this
shooters have
day
it too.
love the idea
Mhm.
that if you get caught unawares,
Mhm.
it's not like, well, the next time, like even if you
Yeah.
escape it, the next time I get in a firefight, once I get shot once, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Instead, if you get caught unawares, if you escape quickly enough, it's like it never happened.
Yeah, look at
So
even games
forgiving.
like Hunt, where your health chunks replenish to a certain amount. There's a threshold to an extent. It just makes for fun. The point was, it makes for more fun gameplay. It's not as
I agree.
punishing when you're in that firefight. You can hide and everything else too.
I love the time
Yeah.
to death. What's is that? Is that how they say it? The amount of time it takes to actually kill you in Halo is infamously much longer than in a Call of Duty game.
Yeah,
And it's such a
yeah, it's true.
so forgiving.
I have one fun little bit for you. So I asked on Retro's page, I asked people to give us their 14-year-old cringy Xbox Live gamer tags.
Hell yeah. Let's do this.
And it's, air them all here. We're all going to say them together and we can all make fun of one another and it'll be a blast. So I've got some of the best honorable mentions here if you guys would like to hear them.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So
hell yeah.
put yourself in the 14-year-old mindset. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Captain Metallica,
Cool.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Garden Gnome,
Uh-huh.
I
Go faster,
Nickelback,
yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4,
That's good.
Nickelback. 1, 2, 3.
Nickelback,
4.
like the
Oh,
band.
Nickelback. All right.
Daytime Wizard,
Cute.
Stone Cold What,
Cool.
Crotch Stabber, Ninja for Hire, Dank
Cute.
Ranger. This is a good one.
Dank Ranger.
Death Scythe _ Trunks.
Whoa,
Because
that's just
90s
two.
anime.
That's just two kick-ass things
Hell
right
yeah.
next to each other.
Uh,
Oh man, that's great. I love
Serial Killer. That's a Hacker's reference right there. I get that one.
Yeah.
I got to say this one right. Franny Gucker.
Huh?
Franny Gucker.
Oh, if you switch the two first letters of
Oh,
those two,
shit.
Splatter Fart.
that's good.
And my
Yeah, it's
personal favorite,
one.
Taco Bell 6969.
Oh, that's my favorite. No,
That
I'm
guy's
sorry.
gonna fuck
take
you
it back.
up in fucking shotguns and snipers only, bro.
Yeah.
Taco Bell 6969 is gonna fucking
Like-
eat your lunch, dude.
I guarantee you that guy is the best person on the server.
Yeah, he's gonna fuck your mom too.
Yeah.
It's fucked up. Raph, do you have any parting shots for Halo?
I mean, it's just, this game really does feel like the missing link between a classic boomer shooter and a modern shooter, what feels
Mhm.
like a modern shooter these days. And I just, I appreciate it. It's such a fantastic game, man. Halo fucking rocks, dude.
That's basically all I want to do. Is like
Yeah.
Halo Appreciation
Halo
Day.
fucking rocks, man.
Just like it's Halo's
That's it.
birthday. Oh man, remember Halo? And then I was doing some research. I'm like, damn, Halo, you really kicked ass. You really fucking whooped
Honestly.
ass. In a time when shooters were not accessible to me,
Yeah.
you really whooped ass, and then you led the way to a game which maybe we'll talk about next year, next November, depending on the timing. Halo 2, which is
Ooh.
just fucking more dual wielding, more fucking vehicles, just
Plus
a
plasma
crazier
grenades,
storyline.
swords.
Yeah. Well,
Plasma
yeah. Then the
swords,
plasma
yeah.
swords. Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay, that does it. I think for Halo, the snob hat is coming off. I no longer have to yell about framing and whatnot. We are going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to do our what else you got and go ahead and finish out our episode. We'll be right back. Okay, gentlemen, what else have you got for us this week? I will go first. I've been playing Metal Slug Tactics.
Hell yeah.
Out the
Oh,
ass.
yes.
I've been playing so much Metal Slug fucking Tactics. We've been talking about it on the podcast for a while now because it got teased like 2 years ago or something, it feels like. And it's been dangling and dangling and dangling. And they finally said, guess what? It's going to come out. And then it just hits Game Pass one day. I was like, oh shit, let's fucking go.
No.
Dude, it's so good. Developed by Lykeer Studios, published by Dotemu. It plays like Metal Slug Into the Breach. It's 3-person teams. It's roguelike in mission nature. So basically you take these teams of 3 with multiple loadouts each. So like Marco's got like 4 different types of Marco that you can bring.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
And each of those 4 different types of Marco have different starting abilities because every character has abilities as well. And then you've got this island that's comprised of 3 zones plus a boss zone, just like Into the Breach.
Oh wow, yeah.
Just like Into the Breach, you're allowed to do as many or as few as you'd like before approaching the boss zone. The logic being that the more zones you successfully do, the stronger you will be by the time you get to the boss zone. But obviously, there's the catch-22 of the more zones you do, the more zones you have to survive through. So if you fucking flub a series of zones, by the time you get to the boss zone, you're like, I fucked up and used all my ammo.
Mission failed.
There's to do a 10,000 foot view of the game, it's got a lot of mechanics. The first hour or 2 of playing the game is a lot of learning. You're learning because
That's okay.
There's okay, so main mechanic, every turn you are incentivized to move every character as far as possible because moving far generates for your character 2 like currencies. One is
Like action points?
you gain action points that are called adrenaline that let you
Okay.
do your special abilities. And the farther you move, the higher your dodge rating is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which
cool.
makes it harder for the enemies to hit you. There is like cover in this game, but regardless of cover, if you've got a high dodge, you're usually pretty safe. So it's interesting because Metal Slug, classic, famous run and gun like shooter arcade game. Famous for how kinetic it is. You're literally constantly moving from left to right.
Yeah, think Contra if you've never played it before. Yeah.
And even more energetic than Contra because it's got tanks in it that you can jump inside
Right.
of and huge bosses that take up the whole screen and not just like stationary, but like move from around the whole entire screen. They're massive.
Yeah.
So this game pays homage to that idea by inventing this system that basically says this game is not about positioning your units in a place where they will not be hit. This game is more about positioning your units in places in which they can work together. Because there is another system, an ability that all of your characters have, which is called synchronize. So if one character attacks an enemy and one of your allies has an attack that could hit that enemy based on where they are, so that's basically line of sight rule. But if you have a grenade, you can attack out of line of sight. They will attack.
Oh.
So the premise, like I said, being out in the middle of the open, not an issue. As long as you moved from the other side of the map, because then you've got enough dodge basically to make it to where you don't really care how many enemies shoot at you. Your dodge will be high enough. The real death sentence comes from the fact that you cannot move through enemies or your allies. So that's when it becomes a game of playing the level versus the enemies versus the positioning of your own guys. Sometimes you go, fuck, I did this in such a way that this guy's got to move first, and then he's got to move. Then she can get in position. What I usually find is it becomes everybody moves, and then everybody shoots at once. Like, because that usually becomes you're optimizing for a person. I find that sometimes in life I'll overanalyze something before I make a decision. Buck might call this analysis paralysis,
Mhm.
and Metal Slug Tactics is the most pandering game to someone with analysis paralysis that I can think of. It's basically like, come here, I'm going to swaddle you in a blanket of decisions. Yeah, go ahead and just think about stuff forever. Yeah, you don't ever have to stop thinking. You're just always thinking.
You're
just like
stuck here in this
every
spot.
you're thinking every time you move, you have to think about everybody else's position. You have to think about the enemy position. You have to think about the attacks they're about to do. Literally, I almost want to say it's a complaint, but not really. It's just like you have to think a lot if you are me playing Metal Slug Tactics. Before every turn, you're going, hmm. But it's great. I've been playing it already for like, I don't know, like 13 or 14 hours.
And he's
it's only
halfway
been
through
out
the
for a
first
couple
battle.
days. I already beat the game. I already beat
Nice.
the all the islands and unlocked Tarma and
Cool.
Clark.
Oh,
And
wait,
they're both
Clark, one of the Ikari warriors. Clark,
yeah,
cool.
I know. The Ikari warrior is in the guy with
Ralph.
the headband.
Ralph.
Yeah, Ralph. I haven't unlocked him yet, but I've seen his
Cool.
silhouette there, and I was just like, man, this game's so cool, man. They got these chibi versions of all these guys, and of course, there's metal slugs in it that you can summon, and higher difficulties result in crazier enemies that are also have their own metal slugs. It's awesome. It's got
That's awesome.
it's got all the style of Metal Slug with the
Mhm.
sound effects and the visuals combined with a tactics game that is the best one I played since Into the Breach.
That's cool. I saw you play some on the Saturday stream. That was cool.
Hell yeah.
Yes, yeah, I did a live stream. I'll probably, if there's not a better game to play this Saturday, I'll probably be playing that again because it's really fucking fun. I can't stop playing it.
I can't wait to dive in, honestly.
Yeah, dude, you're gonna love it. All right, so Buck, what else have you got for us this week?
Just sent you some pictures there because
Oh,
after a
shit.
year of waiting, my
Oh.
Unico all metal 1-to-1 size Blast Nova Candy Cab came in.
What the
Oh,
fuck?
And I
Cool.
put a
shit.
Neo Geo board in it right away. So we jammed some win, kids.
Oh, dude,
cool.
what?
Yeah. So I've got all the I've got the Neo Geo in there, so we can play any of the King of Fighters, any of that
Oh
fun stuff.
yeah, baby.
Windjammers, any of that fun
I
stuff.
want to
Me and
play Samurai Showdown.
all the
Wow.
Sam shows are in there too. It's got a JAMA. So it has the motherboard. The boards that come in it are an arcade board that has JAMA input. And if you guys are
See
arcade
our
episode,
arcade episode, yeah.
Yeah,
you
right,
know
yeah.
that JAMA input means it's universal to any arcade boards. So I can pop in my Final Fight board and we can play some fucking Final Fight on this bad boy.
Hell yeah.
Any of the Neo Geo carts in there as well too. We played some Crossed Swords. We played some Baseball Stars, which has way too much, as the kids say, drip for a fucking baseball game because it's so good, dude. It's baseball and it's so good. But Windjammers, of course, that's the first thing you have to play in any one of those.
So what's the deal with this Unico Candy Cab? I mean, obviously it looks beautiful.
So this is cool. So these guys about a year and a half back said, all right, if you don't like, especially if you don't like live in California, close to Japan, when they unload candy cabs and their prices have skyrocketed, it's hard to get a candy cab, which if you don't know, those are the sit down 1 to 2 player arcade machines you see in Japan, the ones that are usually white. And
Sit down being the main thing about them.
That makes them very Japanese, yes. Because in most Japanese arcades, almost all the arcade machines are sit down because you're going to play for hours. You don't want to go home.
Right.
And so getting them can be a real pain in the ass. Plus, most of them, unless they're newer like Vulexes or other things, could have been made 20 plus years ago. They have CRTs in them, or you have to convert them, older power, blah, blah, blah. I could go into the whole spiel. But the point on this one is these guys said, look, it's not an arcade 1-up. This is a 1-to-1 scale. This is a full size of a candy cab. This is not made out of plastic, which a lot of candy cabs even are. This thing is metal. And it's got a flat screen in there as well too. So I know. So along with that, they also had the boards that they used so that the controllers both go through a controller boards for JAMA purposes, but they also have USB outputs. So you can just plug them into, you can toss a PC or a console in there, anything. The sticks that are built into the frame have USB outputs on them if you're not using an arcade board.
That is
Wow.
badass. Wow.
So you can pop just about anything in there for those, and it's wicked cool.
Get some fucking wow. That's
Dude,
fantastic.
yes, you guys have got to come
Hell
check it
yeah,
out. It's
dude.
pretty cool. My son has played Windjammers before, and so the first thing I popped on was Windjammers because he got really freaking excited. But he also likes Vampire Savior, aka Darkstalkers. So we fired up some Darkstalkers on there
Nice,
too.
dude.
Yeah, some good stuff. So it's like, okay, we're gonna have a lot of fun with
What do
this.
they
one.
say before the round starts in Darkstalkers? God damn it. That's right. All right, nice. Raph, what else have you got for us this week?
Man, I've got a couple of things. Well, speaking of Darkstalkers, so recently,
We're just segueing into each other.
Yeah, it kind of worked out. I recently started playing because I bought it a while back. I mentioned in one of my What Else You Gots, I bought Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper Fighting, and I kind of got obsessed with it, and I started really diving into fighting games again, which I haven't done in years, and I've been having a fucking blast.
Now you can come play them on the candy cab, dude.
Yeah, right, yeah. But I found, I was like, yeah, let me do a little research. I'm like, I wonder like what fighting games can I get for the Switch? You know, it'd be nice to be able to, play something on the go or have something I can take with me. So I ended up buying this right here, which is the
So
Capcom.
the answer is a
Fighters
lot.
Collection. Right, yeah. This has
nice,
yeah.
nice. You
this has
popping Fighter
Darkstalkers on
collection?
it. It has like 10 different games on it. It's got Puzzle Fighter 2
Mhm.
on there.
We were playing
got
that on the
Street Fighter
candy
2.
cab too, Puzzle Fighter.
Yeah, dude, I was so excited to get this. The other thing is I had to go down south on some personal business recently, go back home. I saw my mom, looked around in my room, and I found my old Nintendo 64, including...
Oh, thank God. You don't know how many people tell me that story and then it ends with, and Mom sold all my games.
No, I found all my old N60, or a good chunk of my old
Damn.
N64 games,
Heck yeah.
including The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. I found
Put that
Super
on the
Mario
CRT.
64. Yep.
Mhm.
What
I
a
found
great
GoldenEye
afternoon that will
007.
be.
I found
Nice.
Star Fox 64.
Heck yeah. Need to get you a Rumble pack.
Let's see what else I got. I got Pokemon Stadium here, Super Smash Brothers Melee, Rayman 2, which I don't know if you ever played
Green
this game.
card?
This game, yeah, I know. Yeah, this game kicks
That,
ass. I don't know
that
if you
and
ever played
Army
it.
Man, one of the Army Man games, are like the only green cards.
That's funny.
Yeah. This is a lot of nostalgia sitting right here. I don't know if the
That's
N64 works. I'll be honest with you. It was sitting in a closet that
Hey,
probably
man, you can get that
Yeah,
analog
fine.
3D.
right. Play any one of these here. I'm gonna
Play
see
all of these.
Yeah, exactly. Play all of them on that damn thing, and it's not even
Yeah.
expensive. But yeah, this thing, I'm gonna see if I can try to get it working. Hopefully, it does, and then we can try to get it working on the CRT. But
Hell yeah.
yeah, all of this, we can play
I
out
think
in the
we
living
can
room.
get absolutely. I think the king of that's
Yeah, I'm
king
excited.
of video
about this,
games
honestly.
is
Yeah.
ready to play Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time on stream.
Heck
That
yeah.
sounds
Oh, man.
apropos as
Yeah.
fuck.
Doesn't that Capcom Fighting Collection have Red Earth on it?
Yeah.
It does have Red Earth on it. Yeah,
The
let's
crazy
see.
lion guy.
Let me see what the
Yep.
hell's got Red
Man, we gotta
Earth,
put that
White
thing in the
Warriors.
living room and just fucking throw down one day and just fucking beat each other's asses. And all
Yeah,
these
dude,
fighting
I'm
games.
excited. I'm like so down to just get into fighting games again. I don't know. I had such a good time messing around with Street Fighter 2, and then I downloaded Street Fighter 5 on my PS4 because it's on the PS4's version of Game Pass, the PlayStation Network or PSN or whatever. And I was having a good time with that. And you have Street Fighter 6, so I would love to play that on the
That's
out in
fun
the
game.
living room.
Honestly,
yeah, dude.
Puzzle Fighter will be one. Puzzle Fighter will be one that we could all play.
Absolutely.
My girlfriend would be ready to fucking rock some Puzzle Fighter, bro. We could fucking whoop each other's ass in that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm really, really excited about this purchase. Like this
That's
has
funny.
me sort of like
Fun.
jacked
Yep,
up.
that's
I
fine.
haven't
That-
been
I
able
own
to
that
mess
too.
around
That's a
with
fun
it
game.
yet,
Hell yeah. Well, fantastic, gentlemen. That does it for today's episode on Halo. Thank you guys so much for listening or watching. Do us a huge favor. Like this episode, subscribe to the channel or to the RSS feed on Spotify. If you're listening to this, head on over to Instagram at the Game Treasure Podcast. See our beautiful faces in tiny, tiny doses. Make sure to check out our live streams Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Finally, reach out to us via email with suggestions on games to talk about, like Ninja Gaiden 2, or questions about our favorite types of games, or the first game we beat, or whatever, at gametreasurepodcast@gmail.com. You can find links to all of that stuff at our Linktree, linktree/the GTP. We want to thank Crunkwitch for the use of our theme song, Clash of the Droids. You can find them on Apple Music, Spotify, anywhere you can find music on the internet. And of course, we would like to thank RetroGameTreasure.com, owned and operated by the Megabuck himself. Retro Game Treasure is a subscription service that sends collectors customized boxes of retro video games every single month. Simply make your profile at www.retrogametreasure.com and you will receive games tailored to fill out your collection. My collection, that's right. Your personal preference settings ensure that you will always get new games for the consoles that you collect for. Collect your games the easy way today with RetroGameTreasure.com. Buck, would you hit me with your new subscribers, please?
This week, we welcome Aaron Minnick, Randall Taylor, Brendan Azano, Derek Davis, Richie Zazo, Dwayne Rothman, Dustin Woolworth, John Peel, Jay Richardson, and Robert Bohannon.
Thank you guys so much for subscribing. Makes a world of difference. My name is Max Stein, and I love the Game Treasure podcast. It's so bad.
It's so bad.
Oh.